The Locked On Podcast Network presents the College Sports Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in college sports. From our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. Bringing you the real story. Why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The College Sports Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in college sports.
Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle love the team they're taking into the Cotton Bowl, and there's lots of reasons to love what they got going on.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners.
We're going to talk about what Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle had to say during their weekly press conference. Jay, what stood out to you the most?
Well, of course, everyone asked the question, what is up with John Mateer? Is he going to play? Has he been throwing? Has he been working out? Has he been lifting his arm? All those questions, of course,
is he drinking with his right or his left?
Yeah, exactly. You know, does he write with his right hand or his left hand in class? Is he typing with both? There's so many questions everybody's asking. It's funny because, of course, Pete Thamel ruined everything from ESPN. He felt the need to drop that there's a possibility that the sources are telling him there's a possibility that John Mateer is going to play. So, of course, he would drop that like right before Brent Venables has his presser, which I feel bad for BV because we knew the questions were going to come anyway. But now there's more intense questions coming from that because not only did you get Pete Thamel from ESPN, but then Matt Zenith from CBS Sports kind of refutes a little bit of it, saying it's more of a possibility, less than that it's going to happen, where Thamel felt more like he was kind of getting closer to being more definitive with that answer, John. So just basically put it this way. Brent Venables don't know, and he's not lying. That's the best part about the way that he was able to position how he said it was John Mateer hadn't done good on good practice yet. It was Tuesday. It hadn't happened yet. They usually don't do that until Tuesdays, usually Tuesday or Wednesday. So he wasn't lying. It's just kind of got to wait and see what the protocol and the healing goes. But besides the John Mateer 30 million questions where he cut everybody off.
So if you've ever been through like any kind of like interrogation training, they teach you something called a simple, truthful statement. Yeah. And it's something that you can say when you're under interrogation, whether it's from, immigration officials and you're just going through immigration, you're going through security, whatever it is about who you are, what you're there in the country to do. It's a simple, truthful statement. It is what it is. Okay. And if there's stuff that's in your mind that you don't want people to know, it's good to have this simple, truthful statement that you can fall back on, that's true and is not going to get you in trouble. So Brent Venables had his simple, truthful statement, his STS down pat for this press conference. He had it before Pete Thamel ever broke news, quote unquote. And he was ready to go to the podium with this. And he was ready to take on all those questions. And I applaud BV. I do. You don't have to let it all out there. You don't have to tell everybody all the things. You're going to have an availability report and you're going to have to make that known. But beyond that, play the game. Don't hate the players, hate the game.
That's exactly it. You don't have to, you want to give an answer. You want to be as quote unquote truthful as possible, while at the same time you want to leave the mystery. The whole purpose of the deception with this is that, you don't want everybody to know what's actually going to happen. You want Texas to prepare for both quarterbacks.
Yep.
And at this point, as Sarkisian mentioned, we're going to have to prep for both because regardless of what the reports come out, Oklahoma can still go out there and not try John Mateer at all. Mateer is going to be dressed. Let's just put it that way. He'll be dressed fully in helmet, in jersey, in everything as if he's going to play. We won't know until the first snap actually happened. So outside of that portion of it, Ben Arbuckle
what else stood out to you?
Yeah, but Ben Arbuckle talked about that as well. But I loved how Brent Venables has focused really on this defense. He's leaned in on them. He talked about Texas and gave their props. We're not going to give Texas props here. I'm sorry, guys. It's just not going to happen today. I'm going to make John be as petty as he normally is.
I did enough of that on the live reaction show. I gave enough respect for that. I think I'm done.
I'm bringing Petty John back out. You will be Petty John moving
it's over.
forward.
It's Wednesday now. Respect has been given. It's time for rivalry week to actually happen.
Yeah, and BV gave that. But I did love how he leaned in on talking about the defensive line. You know, David Stone, all of them call themselves the dog pound. And he said that if they were out there playing like they were pansies, yeah, we'd have an issue with this. But they're leaning into it. They care. They practice hard. You can see the attention to detail in the way that they practice. And to me, that's huge because it really makes me feel like, oh, he's built a true cohesive unit in this defense. And there was one other thing I wanted to point out. Somebody asked him the question about building that type of environment in the transfer portal era. And, you know, John and BV mentioned that, you know, even this is more of a selfish, quote unquote, type era where, you know, people are a little bit more for themselves. He loves that this team and this group of guys have bought in for each other. And I've seen people point this out, like David Stone seems like one of the most selfless defensive linemen out there because he'll sacrifice himself for somebody else to get the play. And then the play ends up always coming back to his direction. And I am glad that we were able to build this type of culture. People wanted this and did not realize how much work it takes to get to this point. Here you are, guys. I would like an apology.
Yeah, and you not only see it with David Stone, but you see it all across the defensive line. You see it all across the defense. You see it with guys like Elijah Thomas, a true freshman playing on special teams. Like, it's that kind of mindset that's, hey, I'm going to give myself for the team. I'm not going to give myself for my stats, my accolades, all those things. And, you know, whether it's the guys in the interior running the stunts, it's, you know, them doing what they have to do to spy the quarterback, whatever it is, it's, you know, Kobe and Kip and Sammy, you know, being as excited for a guy like Owen Heineke to get snaps as they are for themselves. Like, that's the brotherhood that Brent Venables has always talked about building, and the culture he's always talked about building. It's being just as excited for your buddy making the play as you might be for yourself. And you truly see that, man. And that's what makes this team so much fun to watch, is like, you can see the love and the care and the enjoyment they have playing with each other and playing together, and the effort they put out. It's incredible, man. And it's going to take them a long way, because when you go and you want to fight for your brother and you want to fight for your friends, and I mean, that takes the motivation to a whole different level. It's beyond just winning games or making plays or collecting stats. It's like, you don't want to let your guy down. You want to do everything you can because you know he's going to give everything he can.
Yeah, it's they all give a bleep. That's probably the best way to say it. And you can tell that they care about each other and each other's success. Brent Venables even talked about like Peyton Bowen and how he's taken over as a leader in that secondary, in which this is what we was hoping for. We was hoping the 5 stars that we were bringing in would really start to take over and do these things. And you're starting to see that out of your 3s, your 4s, and your 5s. You're seeing leadership. They went and got specific types of players that they wanted on this team, and they're all blossoming. Every single one that you all hoped will blossom, they're starting to show. That is what's exciting about this. You're getting it from your guys that were 3 stars that we told y'all that, hey, don't be surprised if this player shows out. And then you get your 5 stars that, hey, just give the 5 stars some time. They're going to find their space. They've all found it. We're starting to see that on that side of the ball. Now, offensively, there's a lot more transfers in there than there are recruits. We're going to build that portion of it up. Offense is a little bit easier because you can bring in a whole bunch of dudes into the portal and they can work together and make it a little bit better of a unit. Defense is where it's the toughest. And Brent Venables has now built that from the foundations of recruiting. Like, look at it, John. You've got one dude in the interior that's a transfer on the defensive line. You've got one edge that's a transfer out there. And you got the safety in Kendall Daniels / linebacker / edge. The defense is all dudes they recruited. Like, who else can say that? Who else can point that and say, well, actually, our entire defense is really built on dudes that we brought in? I mean, Kendall Dobie is another one that's, well, actually, he's considered a recruit because he's JUCO. Yeah. So he technically counts as a recruit. So yeah, you went and got the dudes you wanted specifically. And this is why I always talked about how this staff has shown that they really like their players. And that's why you see them playing their guys more than anything. And then they kind of supplement with with transfer. So offensively, we've got a lot of supplemental dudes in there that we're still working with. We're still trying to get molded. And I mean, Deion Burks has been here, quote unquote, the longest, him and Fabici. Now hopefully you'll start to see them to blossom into something bigger.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how I like to bet in the moment. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
There's more on the line this Saturday in Eugene than just Big Ten championship and playoff implications.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We're going to get you set with what is on the line, the top questions for both teams going into the game day game in Eugene this Saturday afternoon kickoff on CBS. And Goins, Oregon fans are in many ways well-versed in your thoughts on this particular matchup. According to our friends at FanDuel, Oregon a 7.5-point favorite. That number's come down from what it was previously. But, this game, I could very easily come on here and say, Dan Lanning needs this win to justify. Penn State was a fraud, and look at what happened. I don't feel that way.
Somebody's saying that out there.
Somebody somewhere. So if you want to see it as silencing that particular segment of the college football fan base, fine. For Oregon, fundamentally in this game, though, you win this game, I don't think there's any way they can miss the playoff. I expected them to get there before the season. I expect them to get there even if they do lose this game. But you have a resume-boosting opportunity, a head-to-head with a team that could go to the Big Ten championship game this year for whatever that's worth. And I think for Oregon in this spot, it's another opportunity to go out, get better, get a big-time win at Autzen Stadium, and, I mean, frankly, just invigorate the fan base even more.
Well, look, I think for Oregon fans, I don't want them to look at Indiana as the Indiana of old, right? This is a legitimate top 10 team. They're an undefeated team, and Kurt Cignetti's the real deal. If Indiana comes in and pulls off this upset, which clearly it would be, this shouldn't be, oh my God, Indiana upset. This is not a UCLA Penn State thing. This is just a really good football team coming to Autzen Stadium. Now, I do think Oregon clearly has more talent. They're at a higher spot with their program for a longer period of time, but Indiana has every chance to win this football game. The unfortunate part, though, Spencer, and I know you talk a lot about this on Locked On College Football, is the fact that a big-time regular season game like this, a top 10 matchup, yes, it's important, and yes, it has a lot of implications for the conference and the college football playoff, but, I mean, the loser's not out. The loser's not done. The season's not over. Like, I'm not going as far to say the game doesn't matter, because that's clearly not true. But 10, 15 years ago, this game would have a lot more riding on it than it does this year in 2025. And that says more about college football than it does this matchup in itself.
2 years ago, this game would have had a lot more on the line. Because I'm with you.
Instead of 12,
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why, as I talked about yesterday on my show, I'm like pretty calm in the lead up to this game. It is, especially with the Penn State win. If Oregon had lost that game, then I think my nerves going into this one for Oregon would be significantly higher because the playoff stakes would be so much greater. And yeah, you get a resume ding when Penn State goes and loses to UCLA and justifiably falls out of the top 25. I think they'll probably find their way back in by the end of the season and be at least an 8, if not a 9-win team in the Big Ten. So I think that for Oregon here, it's exciting that you've got game day in town. It's exciting you get a chance to go and play a top 10 team, but yeah, I think that is part of the I honestly hadn't thought about that as much as I should have until you brought it up when
that's the unfortunate thing.
It is.
It sucks.
And I mean, on the one hand, it's great because you've got a margin for error as an Oregon fan and for an Indiana fan as well. That Illinois win is holding up well over time. We'll see how they do against Ohio State this weekend, but I think Illinois is a good team. I don't think they're great, but I do think they are good, and I gave Indiana their flowers for winning that one. But the loser of this game, especially if it's close, Jacob. If Oregon wins the game by a field goal or Indiana pulls the upset by a field goal, neither team's dropping out of the top 10. At least they shouldn't as a result.
Yeah, I mean, this would be considered a good loss, and I don't love using that term, but that's what this would be, I think, either way. And you're right. You're not going to get dinged for it. It's going to be a good game. The committee will look at this at the end and say, man, that was a great matchup. Now, if there's a blowout either way, that's a different conversation. And then you start looking at how did the team respond and bounce back. But yeah, as you were talking about Oregon, it's the same thing for the Hoosiers, right? A win over Illinois was nice, and surviving on the road at Iowa was nice. And you allow yourself to say, okay, now you have a chance to either win at Oregon or win at Penn State, which unfortunately, and I talked about this earlier on Locked On Hoosiers, it's the fact that Penn State game doesn't look like the resume builder that it once did if they were going to be a top 5 or top 10 team. Still a tough place to play, still a solid team, but this is Indiana's last big opportunity to show the playoff committee that they're legit, to show that they are truly a top 10 team and can beat a program like Oregon, because last year, we know, you went on the road to Ohio State, didn't get it done, and then you went on the road to Notre Dame in the college football playoff, and you didn't get that done either. So with Penn State clearly taking a step back, and teams like Michigan State and UCLA, Maryland's on that schedule for the Hoosiers. I'm not overlooking that game. But in terms of the playoff for this matchup on Saturday, this is Indiana's last big chance to prove themselves, and I'm really excited. I think the Hoosiers will play well.
I wonder how much Indiana is still trying to win over the reputation battle with the playoff committee, because
they are. Yeah.
Last year I think going into this game, there's more on the line for Curt Cignetti than Dan Lanning, because Cignetti's got the win over Illinois. That's a good win because of the manner in which you did it. Even if you'd won close, it would have been a good win to beat a preseason top 12 team, but that you just destroyed them is a big time statement sort of moment. Beating Oregon would be different though. That I think would send Indiana into, oh wait, this is now a tier 1 looking program in all of college football, where Oregon that just won the Big Ten and is a national title contender once again. Whereas for the Ducks in this spot, Dan Lanning has racked up a signature win each of the last 2 years. It was Ohio State in 2024, Penn State this year. Like, I don't think he's fighting that battle. I don't think you see, any sort of narrative out there in the college football world that, well, Dan Lanning's got to win the big game. No, Dan Lanning's won a bunch of big games. Big Ten championship, Ohio State, Penn State again on the road, where everything was kind of working against him on paper there. Like, I think for Cignetti, there's a certain level of respect, but I bet if you polled, really anybody in the national college football landscape, they would rank Dan Lanning ahead of Curt Cignetti as a coach. And I think a matchup like this is a big reason why. And I think if Lanning wins, it's another feather in his cap. But for Cignetti, if he wins, it's a new feather in his cap as a college football coach.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I mean, Dan Lanning in any particular game in a one-off situation, in my opinion, has nothing to prove. Like, he's pretty much done it other than winning a national title, right?
That's literally the only thing.
That's the only thing. But in a one-off situation on a Saturday afternoon, he has nothing to prove. He has nothing to show. He has nothing to, no other, echelon to reach. I mean, he's basically done it all in that landscape. And you're exactly right about Curt Cignetti. He is slowly building towards that, right? Last year, Indiana beat the teams they were supposed to beat, and you lost to the 2 teams that were better than you. This year, you beat Illinois, who was top 10 at the time. You went on the road to beat Iowa, and now you have this opportunity here. If you get it done, everybody has to swallow their pride and say, all right, I guess Curt Cignetti and Indiana are kind of legit. But if you don't, you still have a chance to make up for it. You still have a chance to compete in the Big Ten, to make the college football playoff. But you're exactly right. I agree. There's more, at least from a reputation standpoint, there's more up for grabs for Curt Cignetti than Dan Lanning on Saturday for sure.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a really fun, entertaining game. And I do think that this is a legitimate measuring stick moment again for Oregon, because I think Indiana is really good. Some people's top 25, mine, have Indiana inside the top 5, because I think Illinois is a good team, not a great team. Beat them 63-10. That was darn impressive.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes.
Deion Sanders' health has been a major topic of discussion dating back to his comments after Saturday's loss against TCU. He said he feared he had another blood clot, and it turns out he did. Travis Hunter made a bit of NFL history on Monday, not Sunday, excuse me, on Monday, and we're going to talk about the drama surrounding, did he practice, did he not? I think it's one giant misunderstanding, or just someone got some information wrong. And then lastly, Shedeur Sanders has the prime opportunity of his career to get onto an NFL field. We'll see if he actually gets the chance and takes advantage of that opportunity. But let's dive into Deion Sanders' health, right? After the Colorado game, he sort of made it clear, because he was asked, like, you were sitting on a stool, you had your shoe off on the sidelines, like, what's up? And he's like, cat's out of the bag. I feel like I have another blood clot. Well, today he speaks to the media and confirms that he was in fact dealing with another blood clot. So scary that he knows the feeling so well, where he's just like, yeah, I have another one. But he did say, and quote, I'm having a procedure day, which this is on Tuesday, prayerfully, I'll be right back at practice tomorrow. It is what it is. Found what we found. I have a wonderful team of doctors at UC Health and a team of wonderful trainers here. It has nothing to do with me working at the level and competing. It is hereditary, excuse me. It is what it is. Now, for those who want to get into the terminology, he has, hopefully I could say this right. He will be going to aspiration thrombectomy today, which is a surgery to remove blood clots from his popliteal and tibial arteries. It's just one of those things where the doctors know what he's doing. The doctors have it under control. And obviously, if he feels like he could be back tomorrow, a pretty big deal, right? Because I did an episode yesterday. I know some people were a little confused by it. And it's like, I wasn't saying that Deion Sanders was going to leave Colorado by any means. I was saying that his health, if this was something that prevented him from coaching, that would totally decimate the program and what he's built, right? Because there is no replacing the impact that he has. Colorado has never, ever been able to recruit as nationally as they have with Coach Prime at the helm. They've never been as popular as they have with Coach Prime at the helm. And realistically, this program has a chance to eventually, assuming he stays as the head coach and is able to adjust how he builds his roster, this program could be a contender in the Big 12 each and every year. That being said, there's a lot of things that need to be adjusted in roster construction in the transfer portal, which the transfer portal just got a bit more complicated today, which we'll talk about in a future episode. But Deion Sanders' health is of the utmost importance. So his ability to have surgery, which is surgery number 15 since 2021. He's had blood clots removed. He's had toes amputated, had bladder cancers surgery this offseason, which kind of prevented him from being with the team this offseason. Like, he's been through the ringer. So I want to commend him. I want to applaud him for being able to sort of fight through the frequent health challenges that he's faced. He hasn't let it deter him. He hasn't let it shake him. He hasn't let it really derail anything that he's trying to accomplish. And in one weird way, I guess, this could serve as extra motivation for Colorado, right? It's like, okay, this guy's beaten cancer for us. He's having surgery for a blood clot on a Tuesday, and he's going to be back at practice on Wednesday. Like, I don't know how, if you're a Colorado player, you aren't feeling motivated to play for this man, because he is literally risking his life. It feels like every month or so to like be on the sidelines for you. Like, he is doing this for you. Like, he wants to get this Colorado program turned around again. He wants to right the wrongs in this season, and he wants Colorado to be among the best programs in the country. So really excited to hear that it's not, I don't want to say it's nothing serious, because I don't want to diminish what he's going through, but I'm excited to hear that he's able and confident enough to be back as soon as this week, right? Colorado has a huge game against Iowa State, which we're going to do a crossover with our host over on Locked on Cyclones with Nick Maravets, very great guy. We're going to talk about it, right? They're coming off Colorado keeps catching teams coming off a disappointing loss, right? Happened last week with TCU, happened this past week with Iowa State. They were the undefeated program, or one of the undefeated programs in the Big 12. And then they get blasted by Cincinnati. So now they're pissed, right? So it's like Colorado keeps catching these teams at the right time or the wrong time. But I think having Deion Sanders on that sideline moves mountains for this team, right? I think him not being able to coach would probably, I won't say derail the season, because the season is trending in the wrong direction already, but it would certainly be interesting to see how this Colorado team reacted to not having him on the sideline. So glad he's okay. Prayers up for Coach Prime. I'm really excited that this is something that he feels confident won't impact his coaching future. He talked about just sort of like, hey, like I think when we hear all these fancy medical terms and it's just like, oh, what is going to happen of this? What's going to happen of this? Like he's ready. Like he's ready for this. I think the team is ready for this. He didn't seem too worried. And he said, quote, "The reason I'm still excited about this team is because I don't feel like we've gotten our butt kicked. We've wrapped it up and gave it to them." Quote, we see that where the faults are and we got to fix that. We're better than we're playing. So like Deion Sanders is fully focused on like turning the season around. And it's insane to me because it's like, I feel like he's had so many opportunities and so many people want to make fun of Colorado and they want to pull he's going to leave eventually. Like he's had so many opportunities to leave, right? He had cancer. His son's left. He's still here, right? He cares about this program, and it's cool to see how dedicated Coach Prime is to the Colorado Buffalo. Let's talk Travis Hunter. For starters, before we get into the nitty-gritty of like what I think is a common misconception about Travis Hunter right now, he made history yesterday. He became the first player in 20 years to start both ways in an NFL game. So there's that. The Buffs, force of habit. The Jags took down the Kansas City Chiefs 31-28 at Everbank Stadium in Jacksonville. It was a really fun game. Trevor Lawrence kind of literally falls down on the ground on what was the final play of the game for the Jaguars. Falls down, gets up, falls down again, then rushes in the game winner. But Travis Hunter was absolutely astonishing, right? He through the first 4 games, he played 58% of the offensive snaps and 38% of the defensive snaps. On Monday, he played 60 total snaps, 35 of them on offense, 25 on defense, and he became, like I said, the first player in 20 years to play on both sides of the ball. He had 4 catches for a career-high 80 yards, and it was also a game high, and he also had 2 tackles and a pass deflection. Now, I always felt the Jacksonville Jaguars, they traded a lot for him, so I assumed they would give it a try. I was getting a little concerned with how they were using him. I didn't think they had the plan in place. I know they had talked about it, but I wasn't loving the plan. But obviously patience is a virtue. And sometimes myself and all of us included, we forget to be a little patient. And so I think patience was the move with Travis Hunter, right? Get him confident on offense, get him confident on whatever side of the ball, and then sprinkle him in on the other side. We're starting to see that they like him on offense and they're trying to help him figure out things on defense. And the more confident Travis Hunter is, the more he's going to play on both sides of the ball. And I think that's what Colorado fans and Deion Sanders and myself included have said he's been capable of throughout the years. It's just he has not seen or had to sort of do this, I guess you could say. He's not at least at this level. So he had to learn a new system on both sides of the ball, verbiage, sort of looks, formations, play calls, and all this. And I think I'm really excited to see what his future looks like. I do think we're seeing that it is possible for him to make an impact on both sides of the ball and still be worth the number 2 overall pick. Now, let's get into the nitty gritty of what sort of went wrong with the broadcast yesterday, because I think there was a misunderstanding. Eli Manning on the Manning cast, which Eli Manning's great, funny guy. I love the Manning cast. Sometimes I flip back and forth, honestly. If the game sucks, I go to the Manning cast because it's fun. If the game's intense, I don't know. I love both. So Eli Manning is talking about Travis Hunter and said something along the lines of like he didn't practice at Colorado. He would just do, I think it was like defensive stuff, and then basically he was saying he didn't practice both ways. And I think a lot of people have sort of construed the story into like, it feels like we're talking about a fish that we fished. Like, shout out Travis Hunter, he likes fishing, where it's like, yeah, dude, I jumped in, grabbed it, picked it up, and then the next person's like, yeah, dude, he like punched it in the head, jumped in, did a backflip, and then is like, okay, then he like did a 360 spit. Like everyone, I think the stories about Travis Hunter are so fascinating that people who aren't super familiar with the program kind of, it's like you hear something and you go, okay, he didn't practice with the offense and the defense. Okay, I got to run with this. And it's like, actually, Travis Hunter practiced both ways. And there's interviews throughout where Deion Sanders says he did. I think what was trying to be said was he didn't practice every day, right? There's an interview where Deion Sanders says he'll get days off, or he'll just start practicing on Wednesday so that way he could help recover his body, right? Travis Hunter didn't need 5 days of practice, and I'm sure there probably were times where he did, and there are probably times where he weren't or didn't. But yeah, I think it was a whole misunderstanding, and now Colorado's like turned on Eli Manning. It's like, how dare you lie on this man? I don't think he was trying to lie. I mean, unless he got the wrong information. But from what I remember Coach Prime saying it, and like if you disagree with me, I could drop the link in the comment section. Travis practiced starting on Wednesdays, at least most of the time, or sometimes. So that way he had the 2 days off, and Monday and Tuesday to recuperate and get ready. And yeah, I think Travis Hunter is a almost mythical athlete, if you will. He's going to go down as an all-timer regardless of how good he is in the NFL. I think he'll go down as an all-time prospect, all-time college football player, just simply based on the fact that like he did it in the modern game. And I mean, no one else is doing it, right? We're starting to see more teams try it, but it's like, I don't know if you'll ever have a guy who was a number 1 overall recruit who was supposed to go to a blue blood, decides to go to Jackson State, follows Coach Prime to Colorado, and then all of a sudden is a number 2 overall pick as a two-way star. Like the Jaguars did. They traded the farm for him, right? So I think people get defensive over Travis because they don't want his work diminished. They don't want his effort level to be, I guess, cut in half, right? Travis Hunter is known to be one of the hardest working players at Colorado, right? They said multiple times, multiple of the players that I've talked to, they say, yeah, when your best player is working as hard as he is, like it motivates you because like, why wouldn't it? Right. Because it's like that dude's working so hard. I should be working so hard. Right. It's like, we have to be able to sort of put this together and sort of understand like, hey, Travis Hunter is a generational athlete, a generational talent. There's going to be a lot of stories about him. Some of them may be accurate. Some of them maybe not. So I would say cut Eli some slack. I don't think he meant to sort of degrade Travis or sort of take away anything from him. I think he had a little bit of misinformation there, but either way, Travis Hunter, special talent. And I think he'll continue to ascend to being one of the more entertaining players in the NFL. And